And everyone's pretty much united on that front. They want to see what's best for Chris Bosh. He obviously wants to continue his playing career, but at the age of 32, his choices are limited now. There are salary cap implications. There are health implications, more importantly. You had a chance to speak with Chris over the last couple of weeks. Of course, you coached Chris in Toronto. What is his mindset right now?
Well, like Pat Riley said, Matt, Chris Bosh still wants to play, and he's seeking medical advice and different opinions to try to come to that conclusion. But I think Pat Riley, what he said is very definite, that he can't see Chris Bosh playing in the Miami Heat uniform. And I know Chris wants to play, and there's that perception out there that people think these guys don't want to earn their money, that once they get these big contracts, they get home, they get fat, they get complacent. But Chris Bosh is a competitor. He loves this game. He understands what basketball has done for him and his family, and he's not ready to give it up. And Smitty and Brent, you guys know this. It's a different mindset. When I walked away from the game, you guys walked away. We walked away kind of on our terms, right? You know, we kind of knew. We came to that conclusion. When it's medical like this, and you don't really, you understand it, but you don't really understand it because you're not a physician. And Chris is getting some information from other doctors saying that with medication and under the right conditions and right environment, he continued to play because it's a hockey player that has a similar blood clot issue that's still playing. And Chris is, you know, I talked to him, he met with those doctors and the hockey player, but like Smitty said, from Miami's point of view, man, I was in LA when Hank Gathers collapsed. I had a player in Toronto that had some heart issues that we didn't clear. And man, for Chris, and I know he wants to play, and I'm kind of torn. I see both sides, but man, that would be something hard if something happened to him on the court in a Miami Heat uniform or any uniform in the NBA. And I want what's best for Chris, and we sometimes have to make those tough decisions because as a player, even though Chris is well-informed and well-educated and smart, man, that desire to play is stronger sometimes than that little man in the back of your mind saying, you know, you may need to go on and go in a different direction. And it's a difficult decision, and I understand both sides of it.
Just to clean up the part about the hockey player, that player's name is Tomas Fleshman, and he was denied medical clearance by the Minnesota Wild just last week to play as well. He's facing similar sorts of things. You've got a responsibility for the team. You've got liability issues. You've got union rules as far as the team is concerned. And for Bosh, clearly the primary responsibility is to your own health and your family's long-term future. What advice would you give?
Well, I think, first of all, just to talk about Chris Bosh and this situation for him, I feel so bad, Brent, Sam, and Matt, because here's a guy that's 32 years old. When he was acquired by the Miami Heat, the Big Three, he took, I think, the most sacrifice to his game for the ultimate goal to win a championship. And I just look at his numbers the last 2 years, even though they've been shortened seasons for him, 44 games and 53. He was averaging 21 and 19. And I think for him, selfishly, we're all competitors, that, hey, now I have a chance with no Dwayne Wade, no LeBron James, that I can be that guy. And not saying that he's all about being that guy, because you know his track record. The game is taken away from him at 32, where I think he had 3 or 4 more years as an all-star, and then maybe can elevate this team. I don't know how far. And if you're looking at Chris Bosh, other than the Cavs, I think Cleveland, Miami Heat, in your mind, you figure I could be the 2 seed, and hey, we get to the conference finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers, anything can happen. But I think, like Matt and Sam and Brent, it's so much for the Miami Heat as an organization. He was not cleared by the NBA and the team doctors, and I understand he's seeked second opinions, and some of those guys have said it's just a risk factor that the Heat organization does not want to take. But for Chris Bosh, he doesn't get a chance to play the game that he loves. Sam said it best. He could walk away with all that money and be happy, but he truly loves the game. And I'm just wishing him well, that whenever he turns this page, he'll get a chance he has some closure with it.
There's so much depth to Chris Bosh. That's one thing that we've learned about him throughout the course of his career in Toronto. Such a magnetic personality, an incredible stint there north of the border. And then, as Smitty mentioned, coming to Miami and really having to change his game and diversify his game. And then not only doing that, Matt, but flourishing in that role. You can sense the competitiveness of Chris Bosh to want to, in the absence of LeBron James and having Dwayne Wade last year, step up and show, hey, look, I can change it back and I'm still capable of being a dominant player. He did that to the tune of 21 points. And then last year, with Wade taking some time off in between and not really managing his minutes, or at least his effort in his minutes, Chris Bosh, for those 53 games with those 19 points, Smitty, that just tells you the kind of competitive spirit he has, Matt. But this is about competing for the love of the game. This is about competing to stay out in the court and doing what it is that he feels he's born to do, and that's go out and play basketball. It's unfortunate, the news. The scary thing is it reoccurred, Matt, and it's 2 years in a row. It's the fact that Chris recovered from the first incident and that it came back, and last year the same sort of things started happening to him physically. So we hope for the best for Chris Bosh. If it's not in Miami and it's to continue playing somewhere, we hope that it's a clean bill of health the rest of the way. And if it doesn't, you're still looking at a guy who I believe is going to get into the Hall of Fame. I mean, he has the kind of numbers that will put him in there.
11-time All-Star, and Bosh, in consultation with a doctor, felt like he had found a regimen of blood thinners that would allow him to play that you mentioned. Obviously, the Heat disagree medically. He is owed just under $76 million over the next 3 seasons. He's going to get that money. The question is, will the Miami Heat have to pay all of that, and how much of that will count toward their salary cap? There are a bunch of rules about that, which would begin with them waiving him in February, and then it's a matter of whether he can come back with another team. Chris Bosh's blood clot issues have apparently ended his career with the Miami Heat. Coming off back-to-back seasons shortened by clotting, Bosh wasn't cleared to play by the Miami medical staff, and Monday, team president Pat Riley announced that the team is moving forward without the 11-time All-Star. Riley told reporters on Monday, quote, "Chris is still open-minded, but we are not working toward his return. There is not a next step for us. It's pretty definitive for us in our position. He wasn't just written off, was not. That may have been his perception because he simply didn't want to believe what's out there." Head coach Eric Spoelstra among those trying to move forward without the big man.
You know, this business is tough. The personal relationships and the things that happen that you can't control. Everybody knows how much CB means to me and his family. I love CB dearly. You know, it was tough to watch CB and his family go through this the last couple years. Your heart just goes out to him. And CB and I have had a different bond of player-coach. CB is always the guy that I would go to, especially on those championship teams. I just really always trusted his perspective. You know, my love for him and his family won't change. In terms of, does it give it more clarity going into camp? So plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, there's going to continue to be those. That's what this profession is. So I have clarity of who's going down to the Bahamas for camp. I'm going to prepare for this group right now. But there's going to continue to be changes, hopefully not as big of an impact as this, but I'll be open-minded to however the course of this team will change. But in terms of my mindset as the head coach of this basketball team, the other 19 players that are going to training camp, my focus will be on them. But that does not take away from my feelings for CB.
There are a bunch of issues at play here with regarding Chris Bosh's condition and his future. He's owed nearly $76 million over the next 3 years. He's going to get that money. Question for the Heat is, will it all apply to their salary cap or not? And in the short term, Bosh still wants to play.
And that's what you feel for him. And obviously, he's still an all-star in my book and got 3 or 4 more years of being an all-star. And you talk about Bosh, I think just a little bit of competitor in him. I would be thinking that there's no Dwayne Wade, there's no LeBron James. I would love to play with those guys, but they're not here. I can be the focal point of this team and hopefully lead this team back to Eastern Conference or the championship. It's unfortunate right now, Brent.
Yeah, and obviously you think about family first, but it has been curious as to what's going on down in Miami. Certainly today was an exclamation point that the Miami Heat will continue, Matt, without Chris Bosh in their future. And it'll be interesting the steps, quite honestly, that Chris is going to take to find out, Sam, if he can eventually somehow get back on the floor.
Yeah, guys, this is tough, man. I see both sides of it, but the most important thing is Chris's health. and I understand where Miami's coming from, but as a player who got a chance to go out the way I wanted to go out and end my career, it's something about not being able to finish what you started. And you love this game, and you don't want those what ifs. And my hope is that whatever decision Chris and his team makes, that it's his best interest at heart. I know he wants to play, but I'm like Eric Spoelstra. Chris Bosh is one of my most favorite players to ever be around, much less coach. And the most important thing is longevity of life, being healthy. He has a great family. He loves his kids, he loves his wife, and you want to see him around for that. And if there's any chance that these blood clots can harm his health, then I will err on that side. But I understand Chris wanting to play, and I understand what Miami's doing is just a tough situation. But hopefully over time, those feelings that Chris have right now kind of ease up a little bit, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is his health.
Absolutely. I know you had a chance to talk to him. He felt like in consultation with the doctor, he had found the right combination of blood thinners that would allow him to play, and obviously the Heat disagree and wouldn't clear him medically.